Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India Live, India's voice to the world. I'm Preeti Kaur. Coming up in the next 30 minutes, India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi shares 10-year journey of his monthly radio program Mann Ki Baat, says that it has created a garland in which not just stories but also new records were added. India's External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar gives out a stern message to Pakistan at the UNGA, says its actions will certainly have consequences. Dr. S. Jaishankar also stresses on UN reforms, calls for urgent solution to Ukraine and Gaza conflict. Israel Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu calls killing of Hezbollah leader a historic turning point. Iran calls for emergency UN Security Council meeting. Heavy rains wreak havoc in Nepal. Over 100 deaths, 64 people missing in devastating flood and landslides. SpaceX launches a mission to bring back 2 astronauts stranded on the International Space Station since June. India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi addressed the nation on Sunday in the 114th edition of the radio program Mann Ki Baat. People from all across the country listened to the monthly radio program and watched it via a televised broadcast on various news channels. India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi expressed joy over 10 years of Mann Ki Baat program and talked about how media has played an important role in bringing the program to everyone.
इस साल 3 अक्टूबर को जब मन की बात के 10 वर्ष पूरे होंगे, तब नवरात्रि का पहला दिन होगा। मन की बात की इस लंबी यात्रा के कई ऐसे पड़ाव हैं जिन्हें मैं कभी भूल नहीं सकता। मन की बात के करोड़ों श्रोता हमारी इस यात्रा के ऐसे साथी हैं जिनका मुझे निरंतर सहयोग मिलता रहा। देश के कोने कोने से उन्होंने जानकारियां उपलब्ध कराई। मन की बात के श्रोता ही इस कार्यक्रम के असली सूत्रधार हैं। मन की बात ने साबित किया है कि देश के लोगों में पॉजिटिव जानकारी की कितनी भूख है। पॉजिटिव बातें, प्रेरणा से भर देने वाले उदाहरण, हौसला देने वाली गाथाएं लोगों को बहुत पसंद आती हैं। मैं आज दूरदर्शन, प्रसार भारती और ऑल इंडिया रेडियो से जुड़े सभी लोगों की भी सराहना करूंगा। उनके अथक प्रयासों से मन की बात इस महत्वपूर्ण पड़ाव तक पहुंचा है। मैं विभिन्न टीवी चैनल्स को, रीजनल टीवी चैनल्स का भी आभारी हूं जिन्होंने लगातार इसे दिखाया है। मन की बात के द्वारा हमने जिन मुद्दों को उठाया, उन्हें लेकर कई मीडिया हाउसेज ने मुहिम भी चलाई। मैं प्रिंट मीडिया को भी धन्यवाद देता हूं कि उन्होंने इसे घर घर तक पहुंचाया।
Further, Prime Minister also congratulated countrymen on success of Swachh Bharat mission and said that everyone should participate in the mission to create a cleaner country.
अभियान से हमें ज्यादा से ज्यादा लोगों को जोड़ना है और ये अभियान किसी एक दिन का, एक साल का नहीं होता है। ये युगों युगों तक निरंतर करने वाला काम है। ये जब तक हमारा स्वभाव बन जाए स्वच्छता, तब तक करने का काम है। मेरा आप सबसे आग्रह है कि आप भी अपने परिवार, दोस्तों, पड़ोसियों या सहकर्मियों के साथ मिलकर स्वच्छता अभियान में हिस्सा जरूर लें। मैं एक बार फिर स्वच्छ भारत मिशन की सफलता पर आप सभी को बधाई देता हूं।
The Prime Minister acknowledged people working in the direction of water conservation and emphasized on the concept of catch the rain.
दिनों में बचाया गया पानी जल संकट के महीनों में बहुत मदद करता है और यही कैच द रेन जैसे अभियानों की भावना है। मुझे खुशी है कि पानी के संरक्षण को लेकर कई लोग नई पहल कर रहे हैं।
All right, let's get to other updates now. India's External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar, speaking at the 79th session of the UNGA on Saturday, took a jibe at Pakistan over terrorism that it harbors, saying the country is making a conscious choice of being left behind in the global order due to its karma.
Many countries get left behind due to circumstances beyond their control. But some make conscious choices with disastrous consequences. A premier example is our neighbor, Pakistan. Unfortunately, their misdeeds affect others as well, especially the neighborhood. When this polity instills such fanaticism among its people, its GDP can only be measured in terms of radicalization and its exports in the form of terrorism. Today, we see the ills it sought to visit on others consume its own society. It can't blame the world. This is only karma. Madam President, a dysfunctional nation coveting the lands of others must be exposed and must be countered. We heard some bizarre assertions from it at this very forum yesterday. So let me make India's position perfectly clear. Pakistan's cross-border terrorism policy will never succeed, and it can have no expectation of impunity. On the contrary, actions will certainly have consequences.
In a powerful speech, Dr. S. Jaishankar said that the issue to be resolved between the two countries is only the vacation of Pakistan-occupied Kashmir by Islamabad and the abandonment of its long-standing attachment to terrorism.
The issue to be resolved between us is now only the vacation of illegally occupied Indian territory by Pakistan, and of course, the abandonment of Pakistan's long-standing attachment to terrorism.
Amidst the ongoing Ukraine and Gaza conflicts, External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar at the UNGA cautioned that the world cannot be fatalistic about the continuation of violence on a large scale, asserting that the international community seeks urgent solutions and its sentiments must be acknowledged and acted upon.
The world cannot be fatalistic about the continuation of violence on a large scale, no more than be impervious to its broader consequences. Whether it is the war in Ukraine or the conflict in Gaza, the international community seeks urgent solutions. These sentiments must be acknowledged and acted upon.
Strongly supporting the theme of 79th UNGA, that is leaving no one behind, India's External Affairs Minister also highlighted the need for more representative United Nations and reform in the multilateral system. He urged all UN members to come together to change the world for better.
Let us therefore send out a clear message from this UNGA session. We are determined not to be left behind. By coming together, sharing experiences, pooling resources, and strengthening our resolve, we can change the world for the better.
On the sidelines of the 79th session of the UN General Assembly, India's External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar met with his Mexican counterpart, Alicia Barcena. The minister also met Algeria's Foreign Minister, Ahmed Attaf. Both the leaders committed on taking forward the long-standing partnership. They also discussed ways for advancing multilateral cooperation. External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar also participated in the launch of the Pan-IIT Alumni Foundation in New York alongside the 79th UNGA session on Saturday. During the event, he appreciated the efforts and contribution of Indian diaspora in developing the Viksit Bharat. Prime Minister Narendra Modi will lay the foundation stone, inaugurate and dedicate to the nation various projects in Maharashtra worth over 11,200 crore rupees on Sunday through video conferencing. Prime Minister will inaugurate the Pune metro section of District Court to Swargate, which will also mark the completion of Pune Metro Rail Project Phase 1. Also, Prime Minister will lay the foundation stone for Swargate Katraj extension of Pune Metro Phase 1 to be developed at the cost of around 2,955 crore rupees. Prime Minister will also dedicate to the nation Bidkin Industrial Area, a transformative project covering an expansive 7,855 acres under the National Industrial Corridor Development Program of Government of India. Prime Minister will also inaugurate the Solapur Airport, which would significantly improve connectivity, making Solapur more accessible to tourists, business travelers and investors. Prime Minister will also lay the foundation stone for memorial of Kranti Jyoti Savitribai Phule's first girls' school at Bidewara. Addressing the second edition of the UP International Trade Show, India's Minister of Commerce and Industry Piyush Goyal said that Prime Minister Narendra Modi's efforts in developing Uttar Pradesh will help India become a $5 trillion economy in the first phase and will serve as a cornerstone for India to become a $35 trillion economy.
नरेंद्र मोदी जी के नेतृत्व में देश मुख्यमंत्री श्री योगी आदित्यनाथ जी के नेतृत्व में उत्तर प्रदेश दोनों मिलकर एक डबल इंजन के रूप में देश को पहले चरण में तो 5 ट्रिलियन लेकिन आगे चल के $35 ट्रिलियन की इकोनॉमी बना के एक विकसित भारत, एक समृद्ध भारत की तरफ तेजी से लेके जाएंगे.
The second edition of the UP International Trade Show is being held from September 25th till today at the India Expo Mart in Greater Noida. The laser show and Khadi fashion show were the main highlights of the third day, while the cultural evening performances added to the event's vibrancy. With Saturday and Sunday being holidays, many are anticipated to take advantage of the break to visit the International Trade Fair and explore their favorite products. In Jammu and Kashmir, 2 terrorists were killed in South Kashmir's Kulgam district and 4 security personnel, including an officer, sustained injuries in the encounter on Saturday. Policemen and army personnel had launched a joint operation in Adigam village in Devsar, Kulgam in the morning hours after they got information about the presence of militants in the village. As the security forces were placing cordon around the village, militants opened fire in which 4 army and policemen were injured. Later, 2 militants who were hiding in a house were killed during the operation. In another ongoing encounter in Kathua district of Jammu and Kashmir, 1 police personnel attained martyrdom while 2 other officials sustained injuries. The encounter broke after a joint search party of the Jammu and Kashmir police and army launched a cordon and search operation based on specific inputs about the presence of terrorists in a house in the forested area. As the search party approached the hiding terrorists, who are believed to be 2 or 3 in number, they reportedly opened fire on security forces, resulting in an encounter. Campaigning for the third and last phase of assembly elections in Jammu and Kashmir will end on Sunday, with political parties making the last-ditch effort to win the voters of the 11 assembly constituencies of District Jammu that are all set for polls, with over 12 lakh voters going to exercise their franchise on October 1st. Polling for the first 2 phases was held on September 18th and 26th respectively. Counting of votes will take place on 8th of October. You're watching DD India Live. We're heading for a short break, but after the break, Austrians voting in a closely contested parliamentary election with economy and immigration as key concerns. Hurricane Helene ravages Florida, gradually weakens, leaving a path of rare devastation. 48 migrants missing as their boat capsizes near the Spanish island of El Hierro.
India's chess masters have created history.
Something very historical, and I think, and I really hope this means a lot to many people.
This is definitely a huge moment, not just for me, not just for the team, but the entire Indian chess.
We have been trying to win a gold medal in Olympiad for a long time, and we have finally achieved it.
I believed the boom in chess will happen, and I believed all this would happen, but I just didn't know how. I just kept doing what I do.
At one point, I was thinking within myself, oh, am I really speaking to the Prime Minister? Is he really next to me? It was such a humbling experience.
Is India the future? And I think we can say the future is now. We are world champions.
Welcome back after the break. You're watching DD India Live. Let's get to international updates. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu called the killing of Hezbollah chief Hassan Nasrallah a historical turning point that could change the balance of power in West Asia. He, however, warned of challenging days ahead. The Israeli military on Saturday said that it had eliminated Nasrallah in the strike on Hezbollah's Central Command headquarters in Beirut. Nasrallah's death is a major blow to both Hezbollah and its backer, Iran.
The state of Israel eliminated the arch-murderer Hassan Nasrallah. He and his people were the architects of the plan to destroy Israel. He was not only operated by Iran, he also frequently operated Iran. The elimination of Nasrallah is a necessary condition in achieving the objectives we have set, returning the residents of North safely to their homes and changing the balance of power in the region for years.
Reacting to Israel's killing of Nasrallah, US President Joe Biden said that a measure of justice for the Hezbollah chief's many victims. He added that Washington fully supported Israel's right to defend itself against Iran-backed groups. In a statement released by the White House, Biden said that Nasrallah and the terror group he led were responsible for killing hundreds of Americans over a 4-decade reign of terror. When asked by a reporter whether an Israeli ground invasion of Lebanon was inevitable, Biden said it was time for a ceasefire.
President, is a ground incursion into Lebanon inevitable? Time for a ceasefire.
A day after Israel eliminated Hezbollah chief Hassan Nasrallah, Iran has called for a United Nations Security Council meet over Israel's actions in Lebanon and across West Asia. The country strongly warned against any attack on its diplomatic premises and representative in a letter written by its ambassador to the UN. The letter added that Iran will not hesitate to exercise its rights under international law to take every measure in defense of its national and security interests. This comes as reports said that Iranian Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei has been moved to a safer location. At least 10 people have been killed in a Russian drone strike on a medical center in Ukraine's Sumy city. Sumy is located close to the border from Russia's Kursk region, where Kyiv launched a surprise offensive on August 6th aimed in part at creating a buffer zone inside Russia. Meanwhile, Russia has said that it downed 125 Ukrainian drones over its territory. The drones targeted Belgorod region, among others. In a fiery speech in Wisconsin, Donald Trump launched his most intense attack yet on undocumented immigrants and Democratic Vice President Kamala Harris. Targeting immigrants who have committed violent crimes, Trump labeled them as monsters and vile animals and stood beside banners reading "End Migrant Crime" and "Deport Illegals Now." He also escalated personal insults against Harris, calling her mentally impaired following her recent visit to the US-Mexico border. In a heated race for the 2024 presidency, Trump blamed Harris and President Biden for border failures.
Joe Biden became mentally impaired. Kamala was born that way. She was born that way. I had to beat Biden. We were 21 points up after the debate. And then I said, oh, I can't believe it. I think they're going to get him out. And then we had to start all over again with this one. She had a little honeymoon period, but people are now finding out she's not a smart person.
In Austria, polling stations were opened for a general election which could see the far right narrowly beat the Conservatives for a historic win in the Alpine EU nation. Economic concerns and immigration have dominated the race, with Chancellor Karl Nehammer framing FPÖ leader Herbert Kickl as a divisive figure. While polls show neither party will win an outright majority, the victor will have the mandate to lead a coalition. Malaysia's foreign minister embraced a conciliatory tone on the South China Sea while addressing the United Nations General Assembly on Saturday. China claims almost the entire South China Sea, including the atoll, coveted for its bountiful fish stocks and stunning turquoise lagoon, despite overlapping claims in the busy waterway by Brunei, Malaysia, the Philippines and Vietnam. In speaking to the 79th General Assembly, Malaysian Foreign Minister Mohammed Hassan said the region must collectively pursue a different vision.
We must collectively pursue a different vision of South China Sea, a future in which this region is a zone of peace, stability and cooperation. We must adopt a collaborative approach embedded in diplomacy and dialogue. Thus, I call upon all countries to abide by the UNCLOS in the conduct of maritime governance.
Japan's incoming Prime Minister Shigeru Ishiba said on Sunday that the country's monetary policy must remain flexible as a trend, signaling the need to keep borrowing costs low to underpin a fragile economic recovery. On fiscal policy, Ishiba said that he will aim to compile a package of measures at an early date to cushion the economic blow from rising living costs, with focus on helping low-income households. Ishiba, a former defense minister, will assume office on Tuesday. Rescuers struggled with washed-out bridges and debris-strewn roads in search of survivors of devastating storm Helene, which killed at least 63 people across 5 states and caused massive power outages. Helene slammed into Florida on Thursday as a Category 4 hurricane and surged north, gradually weakening, but leaving in its wake toppled trees, downed power lines and mudslide-wrecked homes. Federal emergencies were declared in 6 states: Alabama, Florida, Georgia, North Carolina, South Carolina and Tennessee, with more than 800 personnel from the Federal Emergency Management Administration deployed. Rain fury continues to wreak havoc in Nepal. The floods and landslides triggered by heavy downpour in the Himalayan country have killed at least 102 people. Rescue teams continue to search for 64 missing. Parts of Nepal have been inundated due to rainfall since Friday. Authorities have released warnings of flash floods in multiple rivers. Cars and houses near the banks of rivers in the capital Kathmandu were inundated as rivers swelled up with heavy rainfall. SpaceX launched a rescue mission on Saturday to retrieve 2 astronauts, Butch Wilmore and Sunita Williams, who have been stuck at the International Space Station since June after safety concerns grounded their Boeing aircraft. The mission involves a downside SpaceX crew sent to bring them home, although their return isn't expected until early next year. The Falcon 9 rocket took off from Cape Canaveral, Florida. It used a new launch pad, the pad's first used for a crewed mission. The astronauts were supposed to be there only for an 8-day stay, but after problems with Starliner's propulsion system emerged during the flight there, NASA was forced to weigh a radical change in the plans. Spanish Coast Guards scoured the sea on Saturday, searching for 48 migrants missing at sea after their boat capsized near the Spanish island of El Hierro, killing at least 9 people. The emergency services were able to rescue 27 of 84 migrants who were trying to reach the Spanish coast, they added. Spanish authorities said the migrants were from Mali, Mauritania and Senegal. Calm seas and gentle winds associated with late summer in the Atlantic Ocean off Western Africa has prompted a renewed surge of migrants. All right, let's get you sports updates now. The day 3 of the second test match between India and Bangladesh in Kanpur has been delayed due to wet outfield. The second day of the match was complete washout without a ball being bowled following intermittent rainfall. Rain and a wet outfield had allowed only 35 overs of play on day 1, and the start of the second day's play was also delayed by inclement weather. Intermittent rainfall kept the covers on, and the umpires decided to call off the play with Bangladesh. After the second inspection of Day 3 at noon, umpires suggested another inspection at 2 p.m. due to bad light and dump patches in the outfield. India, who won the opening test, need a draw to register their record, extending 18th consecutive test series victory on home soil. That's it in this edition of DD India Live, but let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those of you on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on the DD India mobile app. This app is available on both Android and iOS platforms, and you can download the respective QR codes. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Preeti Kaur signing off, and from all of us here in Delhi, thanks for watching DD India Live.